Hi cozies, and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited because today's vlog I'm going to be giving you guys a full book room tour. I don't think I've done one of these on my channel before, and because of that I think it's about time I share with you guys my full collection, how I stay organized, all the different little things that kind of live in my book room, as well as some of my favorite parts in my book collection today. So let's get started. Alrighty guys, so let's officially get started. I'm super excited to kind of jump into this, and I figured since we're already on the floor, why not start right here with my reading chair. So this reading chair, I feel like it took me a long time to find it because I wanted it to look a specific way within this space. And the biggest thing was because there's a lot of like rectangle or square lines in my space, I feel like I wanted something a little bit more rounded and also allowed me to have like easy access behind it once placed in my book room. And I figured that the best way to achieve this was by getting a round chair. Now when you're first kind of looking at this chair, it does not look round. It definitely looks like a little oval shaped, but it's not, because it does have a little bit of an ottoman kind of towards the front of the chair that is detachable, and it makes it super convenient because this also serves as extra space for me to store things here in my book room. Right now, currently, like all you have to do is literally just lift the top of the ottoman off. Like it's literally just like a little lid. It's not heavy at all, which is another pro. And I just kind of have like little stuffies stored within the ottoman. But yes, I have my ottoman here. Another thing about this reading chair is that you can always see that I have this quilt on it, and I wanted to point out this pillow because I love this pillow. This pillow has been in the space for a little over, I think, 9 months at this point. I feel like it's just such a cute little pillow that kind of accents the space so perfectly well, and it's not too bold, and I love that it also has like that crochet like look to it. But yeah, that's my reading chair. I think I next want to show you guys my carts. I feel like I have two in this space, so why not share with you guys what stays on them. Alrighty guys, so this is the first cart here in my book room that I want to share with you guys. Now I know that a lot of people here on BookTube specifically use these to kind of be their TBR cart. I don't use them for that. I use them just to kind of simply store different little things that I don't have space to put elsewhere. So you can kind of see it's like a little bit of a mess of everything. A lot of the books that kind of live on here are kind of like what I consider to be like general paranormal romance, as well as just kind of those Wattpad stories, as well as just anything that I kind of pick up randomly at Goodwills or thrift stores, and I just don't know where to put in the meantime, so they find themselves being put here. And this is the second cart here in my book room. I feel like when it comes to this cart specifically, I do have like a really hard time keeping it organized, but as you can see, for the most part, it's kind of where like all of my arts and crafts kind of live. And I do really enjoy coloring books. These are some of my favorite ones, but I will say all of these I've picked up thrifting. I don't really kind of buy them new, if I'm completely honest, because for the most part, if you're kind of like a bargain shopper, then you know that a lot of people will actually donate these coloring books specifically completely untouched, and you literally would buy them like somewhere like around like $25 to $30 depending on what store you're going to. So I really love finding really good deals on coloring books. But yes, this is my second cart. It actually lives like right next to my desk, and everything that's in front of it is mostly books, and these are like my book stacks. I think you guys are pretty familiar with it if you kind of have been here on my channel for a minute. But for anybody new here, let me talk about my book stacks so that way you guys can kind of have a general idea of why they're here and why I have so many of them. So let's get started with kind of what's in my book stacks. Honestly, there's like no organization to these. They have been stockpiled over time. A lot of these, if I'm being completely honest with you, I have thrifted and they were really great deals. Most of them were either like at Goodwill or independent like thrift stores, and I ended up just taking them home with me. But some of them have some like emotional ties. For example, this one specifically holds a lot of books that I read whenever I was younger. For example, like, you know, this one, like this was one of my very first suspense books whenever I was in the 6th grade. I loved it. And I remember whenever I went thrifting one time, I came across and I was like, I need to reread this. And it's funny because a lot of these, they aren't even published anymore. And your local like library is getting rid of them. So whenever I find them, I actually pick them up because if I enjoyed them, I feel like if I give my kids the opportunity to read them, I'm pretty sure they enjoy them as well. Book stack on this side of the book room is actually books that I bought in brand new from like Barnes & Noble, from Walmart, from wherever. And I just have them here because they are newer prints. I guess things that are a little bit more trendy. And I just want easy access. That's what this book stacks are. Most of these are brand new. And they just kind of live on the side. Oh, and right here, this is the puzzle that I had bought recently so I can get done here in the fall. I'm super excited. I just have to get a mat. And then this right here is actually kind of like this little DIY book nook. I've been wanting one of these for so long. I found this one in Target, I think. No, actually I found this one at TJ Maxx, and I'm super excited. I'm hoping that it's good quality. We'll see. I'll probably end up vlogging this at some point. That's kind of what lives underneath my little book stack here. My husband ended up getting this little shelf so that way I could stack books a little bit more and also have like somewhere to put this cord. But yeah, those are my book stacks. But now we're on the side of the room that I feel like doesn't typically make my vlogs. And I honestly love this side of my room because I feel like it's such like an enchanted part of my space. I really did put a lot of thought in this specific space just because there's a lot of wall space here, and I wanted it to feel like something straight out of a fantasy book, and I really do feel like I was able to achieve that just by a lot of the wall art that currently hangs behind me. But it kind of gives me like Game of Thrones kind of energy, kind of looking outside the castle. And then I love that I was able to tie in this window with the different like little candle holders on each side that kind of bring it to life, in my opinion. And like I said, this is one of my favorite spaces. As you can see behind me, this is also one of the spaces that my dogs love to be in. They love to sleep right on top. I don't know why dogs love doing that, but they absolutely love getting cozy and just sleeping and napping while I do my bookish things. But you know, I don't think you guys have ever actually met my babies. So why not introduce you guys, right? Because like you're already here, you're getting the tour. Why not meet the babies who are always part of the space? So this is Angel. She is I think 1.5 years old. She is my emotional baby. She's just one of those babies that, you know, she doesn't have a lot of emotional regulation, but she is literally the sweetest little honeys that you could ever meet in your whole life. And she's always with Teddy. And Teddy is the little brown dog. He's right here. Oh, let me see if I can get him squeezed in. But this is Teddy. He is my mischievous one. He's the one that's always getting Angel in trouble. And it's so funny because he looks a little bit smaller, but he's actually the same size as Angel. And he's only 1 month apart from Angel. So Teddy, he loves to be kind of like a little Velcro dog. And while he's not as emotional as my baby girl Angel, he is still very loving and sweet. And now you know their names. I woke them up for their nap. This might have been a mistake. Guys, as you can see, they have fallen back asleep, thankfully, so I'm able to continue this tour without any issues. But now let's talk about this section right here that's right behind me. This is one of my favorite spots or little corners here in my book space because this is where my vinyl collection lives. I have so much different music. As you can see, Bad Bunny kind of has a little bit of a forefront here, but I also love Lana. But what I really, really love collecting is scores from different movies that have been made based on books. I have The Hunger Games. This is such a good album. I love the voices. I love how like the songs are adapted. It's just an overall beautiful, beautiful album, and I love that I have it. I have the Twilight series, and I have every single one of them. And when I first started getting these, I didn't realize how hard they were at first to collect, because when it came to the originals, they came out such a long time ago. I've collected these slowly with very much my husband's help, who really knows how to find really good deals and knows how to like work with people on eBay and different places. So that's how I've gotten every single one of these. But these are literally some of my favorite albums in my collection. And honestly, they do not leave the space just because it scares me to think of them getting scratched or damaged or anything like that. So I have them in protective covers, but they are so beautiful. Look at this one. This one's the Breaking Dawn one, and I feel like it fits the aura of the book so well, especially with it being like the transformation book for Bella. And this is by far like the most trendiest album within the Twilight series, which is New Moon. And I absolutely love that I have them because, like I said, when it comes to these, they're not common to come across. And also, I feel like physical media is dying, which is like such a horrible thing to like really think about because everything is like streaming. So I really do prioritize like collecting physical media because no one can really take that away from you once you buy it. And that's why I think also this room serves as kind of a little bit of a capsule for me, because I just collect a little bit of everything and it all kind of stays here. Now, I did want to talk about my tote bags as well as my caps. Now, when it comes to tote bags, I am someone who adores a good tote. Like, I collect so many of these, it's ridiculous, and I feel like there's not a single one that I don't use, so I don't even feel bad that I buy so many. But these are just some of the ones that I have. These are obviously from the Barnes & Noble ones that they give out whenever you do your membership every year or whatnot. This is some that I've gotten from Target. But here I have some of the cutest little hats that I've collected here recently, and they are just so cute. I feel like when it comes to having bookish merch, these are the best kinds to have because they're kind of low-key. Like they're not like in your face, but they're subtle enough to like be able to like strike up conversation with someone like at a coffee shop or at a bookstore, that then kind of like helps you kind of make friends and things of that sort. So yeah, those are my caps, those are my totes, and then as you can see, I have more on this space. So now I think it's time that we go to my shelves. I do think I want to mention how I stay organized with owning this many books in my collection. And it definitely is a little difficult after a certain point. And I do think that it is important to kind of have like a tracking system of some sort. So that way when you're out and about and you're shopping, like you prevent yourself from buying duplicates, which was something that I was definitely doing at one point. And I did actually film like a full vlog on this, I think a couple months ago. I'll try to tag it here on this video, but I'll just kind of highlight how this app works. but definitely go check that one out so that way you guys can really see like how I went through that process. But this is what the app looks like. It's called Libib. And it's just this little book right here. You open it up and here you can kind of see like all of the different lists for the different spaces where I have books in. And here's my book room, and I'll click it and you can see how many books currently sit in my collection. I have 961 books. And as you can see, like there's covers, but it's so simple because literally all you have to hit is like this add button, and you can just scan using a barcode, which is on the back of every single book, and it'll add it automatically to your list. You can also do it manually, especially whenever you have books that are either special editions that have a different ISBN number, or books that are like huge throwbacks, like some of those Harlequin books that you saw like whenever I was going through my book stacks. You're not going to find like the barcode and like be able to scan it and get it automatically out. You're definitely going to have to like manually input it, which is perfectly fine with me because there's not that many of them. So I've gone through that process. I know what it's like. It might be tedious, but at the end of the day, if you really want to stay organized, this is how you do it. So check it out if you're interested. Like I said, it's completely free. I use the free version. It works perfect for me. And honestly, I have no regrets in using it. I definitely had to grab my ladder for this, just because if not, you're not going to be able to see like the very top of my shelves. But let's get into my shelves. So here, like I mentioned before, is where most of my romance lives, in this corner of my room. And it definitely goes from very lighthearted to more of my dark romance as we kind of continue down. And the reason it's like this is because I am not a contemporary romance type of girly. I have tried over and over again to be that, but I am just not. However, I always give it a shot. I always find myself in the mood to try it. And that's kind of why I do have this little section right here of what I consider to be truly contemporary romance. And I honestly feel like maybe some of these will change my mind on that, just because I do have some, like Abby Jimenez, for example. Like I've seen her like just about everywhere when it comes to her books. I've heard they're really good. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing for myself if maybe these kind of help me kind of get into the contemporary romance genre. But this is what I consider to be the latest contemporary romance that I have actually enjoyed. And this is by Anna Hong, and this is King of Wrath. I actually did this on impulse one day that I was scrolling through TikTok, and everybody kept kind of clipping the audiobook on a specific quote in the book. And it sounded so intriguing that I decided to pick it up, and I ate this up. It was so good. I rated it a 5-star, and I literally went and I binged her whole series. However, I will say this was the only 5-star I had in her whole series, unfortunately. Actually, no. I'm lying. There was another one. It was a separate series, but it was another 5-star based on the books that she has out, and it was Twisted Lies. But these were the only ones that for the first time in, I want to say, years, made me feel something exhilarating when reading them under the contemporary romance genre. So these are honorable mentions for anybody who cares, but I figured I'd mention that because, like I said, I'm not a contemporary girly, but these really like did something in my head, and I was like absolutely sat the whole night reading them through. But now let's talk about my dark romance. I feel like when it comes to dark romance, I love dark romance, and I love niches within dark romance. Now, my specific ones that I love the most are actually MC romance and mafia romance. And if you know that it is hard to find well-written books in those sub-niches, and I hate it. I hate it so much because I have to go through like 100 of them before I find a really good one. Now, for my mafia romance, this is by far my favorite series to date when it comes to mafia romances. It's by Cora Riley. She has tons and tons of books out there nowadays. I will say this about her. If you do decide to pick her up, she can be a little hit and miss. But when she hits, oh my God. I'm sat the whole night. It's amazing. I love it. Now, having said that, an honorable mention of another series that I have all the books in that series signed is by S.J. Tilley. This is her Alliance series. This is a mafia romance series, and I love it so much. It was such a good time. However, I feel like I got so lucky when it came to getting this collection kind of signed, because when I went to Vegas, I also have a Vegas like bookstore crawl. I went to one of the indie stores out there, and they were going to have like a book function where the writer was going to go and she was going to have like a signing. And I was obviously just traveling through at that time, and I was like, can I pre-purchase this please, and you guys mail it to me? And they were so kind enough to do that for me. So I was able to get books 1 through 4, and now I have them all signed, and there it is. I'm so happy I own these. This is one of my favorite spots here on my bookshelves, just because I'm a huge Bad Bunny fan. So I do collect little mementos of my times in the Bad Bunny concerts. And like I said, I just kind of want to highlight it because it's so cute, and it is a little bit of an extension of me and different things that I love. So yeah, that's what's in this corner. But I also have other forms of decor on here as well. Like, for example, I am someone who loves these kind of little trinkets to sit on my shelves, like little houses. Like when I think of like beach reads or like contemporary romance, that's what these give me. Like they give me like second chance romance and things of that sort. So they kind of live there. And now I do want to talk about my suspense and thrillers. Here is where most of my suspense kind of starts, and I do own quite a bit of Frida McFadden thrillers, if I'm being completely honest. Are they considered thrillers or are they considered suspense? I don't know. Maybe they're a little bit of both, but I do collect a couple of these when it comes to her releases, because I do feel like when it comes to thrillers or suspense, they are such a great entry point when it comes to that genre specifically. And whenever October rolls around and I generally don't want to be too scared, that's what I literally kind of gravitate towards reading at that point of the year. But yeah, that's what mostly the bottom shelves are kind of made of: thrillers, horror, and suspense. And it's not my favorite genre, so I can't say anything like super like amazing about it, but I will say from the Frida McFadden books, The Inmate by far to date has been my favorite book by her. And honestly, like the plot twist was like so good. I was like, what? And I actually did a reading vlog if you're interested in like watching it, but I honestly had such a good time with this one. And we've made it to my favorite part of my book room, which is this side of my bookshelves. And honestly, it's because of the genres that live on this side of my bookshelf. I have my classics, I have my sci-fi, I have my fantasy, and my romantasy living in this section. Let's get into my Disney part of my bookshelves, because I feel like when it comes to Disney, I'm a huge fan of Disney, of spin-offs, of movies in book form that are Disney themed, and I have a lot of decor sitting on this part of my bookshelf. So let me get you closer to that. Guys, I am so excited to talk about this. Honestly, this is one of my favorite spots, like I said, of my bookshelf, and it's honestly because it's so nostalgic to me. I am such a huge Disney princess fan. I love all the fairy tales. I watched all of them on repeat as a child, and as an adult, I obviously have to have pieces of that here as a representation of the little me, if you will. So here I have like snow globes, I have the Little Mermaid one, I have the Beauty and the Beast, and I also have Aladdin's lamp. And I have the spin-off series for like retellings of Disney stories. Like for example, this one is a twisted tale of the Beauty and the Beast. And you have different ones that have recently been released by Disney, which I just find to be so much fun, because yeah, you can go back and like watch these movies again, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just want like a more adult version of them, and this is kind of a good middle ground for that. Having said that, like I said, this is one of my favorite pieces. I also have this little door in that corner, and the reason I have that there is because I feel like it almost gives that feeling of walking into your own fairy tale. So I actually have it right in front of this book collection that I haven't read yet, but I know that a lot of people have said is super, super good. Let me see if I can pull it out so that way you guys can see it. The Once Upon a Broken Heart series, I think it is. This is by Stephanie Garber. And I'm super excited to read it just because, like I said, I really enjoy reading like spin-offs of like fairy tales. And while this might not be a spin-off, I do think that it falls under that fairy tale like genre. So I'm super, super excited. And here we are with my classics. I am so excited. This is one of my favorite shelves just because I really, really love classics. And the reason I love them so much is because whenever I was younger, I really, really enjoyed my language arts classes in high school. They were one of my favorites. And also, I feel like when it came to some of these classics, I read them during periods of time where like they were really impactful to my like development as a person. And I'll give you like two that were super, super important to me, which was Little Women and Les Mis. I feel like these two stories wrecked me in the best way possible. I love them. I still reread them nowadays. I actually have numerous copies of some of Les Mis as well as Little Women because I love those two books in particular so much. I also want to read The Count of Monte Cristo this year. I had picked it up originally, then I kind of got on a side quest and like put it down because when I read it, I want to dedicate myself completely to it. So I'm hoping to read that in this year. But like I said, there's so many good books within the classics genre that if there's one thing that maybe you can take out of this video as someone who hasn't maybe picked up any of these, do it. Like you literally will not regret it. And now we have made it officially to the funnest section of my bookshelf. I feel like when it comes to fantasy, it is one of the funnest genres you can pick up. There will be heartbreaking moments. There will be tense moments, but overall, it is one of the funnest genres you can ever pick up, in my opinion. So having said that, we're now sitting in front of my sci-fi fantasy section. And honestly, sci-fi fantasy section has been one of the newer genres that I've kind of gotten into. The one that kind of reintroduced me into this world was actually The Handmaid's Tale. And I really enjoyed it because I felt like it was such a real and raw story. I'm looking forward to reading the Testaments. I actually haven't had a chance to like read it. But when I tell you, when I sat down to read this book, it had me thinking of so many alternate worlds within my own world that it was like low-key kind of scary. We've gotten to the Brandon Sanderson shelf. Here I have all of my Brandon Sanderson books, and honestly, I to this day have not read a Brandon Sanderson book that I did not enjoy. If you're trying to get into this kind of world, I would recommend that you start with Elantris because it helps you kind of get a taste for Brandon Sanderson's writing as well as his world building because it is very descriptive. So that is my recommendation. But currently what I'm reading is actually the Stormlight Archives. The Rhythm of War is the next book that I'm meant to be reading, but so far I've read it 1 through 3, 5 stars, and I love it so much. Now we're jumping into the Harry Potter world, and I feel like this is where my millennial self really shines through. That's why I have so many trinkets. I love this little teddy bear. It's so cute. I actually thrifted him about a year ago, and I'm so obsessed with it. Obviously, you have to have Hedwig as well as the Harry Potter glasses, and just overall the little poppets that kind of come along with it. And now we're shifting over to some more fantasy, and a lot of these are new books that have recently been released. I think the majority of this shelf, with the exception of For the Wolf and For the Throne, as well as So Let Them Burn, I have not read. So I'm looking forward to reading them. Actually, I lied. I've read The 13th Child. Such a good book. Highly recommend that one. Reads like a lullaby. And now here are my special editions. Like these are my spread edges, the prettiest ones I have, which I love. And let's pivot over to some more special editions that I have. So I have the Game of Thrones, as well as my Twilight ones that I mentioned earlier that would be on my shelf. And I love my Dreamcatcher so much. Here we have the Hunger Games, and I think what I love the most about the Hunger Games is this little pendant that is kind of mimicking the one that Katniss wore in the book. And here, some more Harry Potter stuff. Like I said, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I watch the movies, I read the books all the time. And surprise, surprise, I am a Wicked fan. I love Wicked. I loved the movies. There were problems with it, of course, but the singing, outstanding. So, as a Twilight and a Hunger Games fan, did you think that the Crowns of Nyaxia would not make an appearance in some of my faves for romantasy? Of course not. This book was such a good time in my opinion. The plot twist at the end really had me on the floor shocked. And I've loved every single book in the series so far. But sure you guys didn't miss my Throne of Glass series. I feel like this was such a good series for me. It was like a fun time. And one of the reasons why I love the series so much is because I actually read the series with my best friend, and I remember just calling her at random hours throughout the day. She was the one that recommended it to me, and so she already knew everything that had happened, so she would just give me like pep talks, and she would tell me to be patient. She would get me to like hold on. And I mean, the journey was so worth it. It was such a good series, and honestly, yeah, that's why I have to highlight it. And then my last honorable mention is Under the Oak Tree. This is the first novel in the series, and currently volume 1, 2, and 3 have been out, but this is such a fun read and one of my favorite ones that currently sit on my shelf. And honestly, I can't say enough about it, but I mean, it's a stunning book. It's an amazing story, and I highly recommend it. Having said that, this is the last section of my bookshelf, guys. I really love these little portraits that kind of sit on my bookshelves. I feel like they really fit the aesthetic of my room, as well as I love this little mushroom that sits on my shelf. I feel like it fits that whimsical like feeling that you get when you're looking at these books, in my opinion. And yeah, that kind of wraps up most of my bookshelf. It honestly is just full of just more romantasy / fantasy in this section. But I did want to share with you guys my little kind of side table here next to my couch. Here I have my little tea set that sits here, and it's one of my favorite like thrifted finds to date because I feel like it fits my room so well. And then underneath I actually have like a whole bunch of mixed types of genres, because sometimes when I come in here, I like to just sit down, grab whatever's here and go with it. And I really like this side table because it has so much space, and it feels like it ties this little corner in so well. And also I love these little candles that I have kind of sitting everywhere because they really brighten the room, especially at night. And they make everything feel so much more magical whenever they get turned on at night, which is my favorite part. Finally, guys, this is my desk area here in my book room, and as you can tell, I have 2 screens, so obviously this is where I end up editing all my vlogs, as well as doing studying and other bookish things. I love it because I have that Tiffany inspired lamp sitting there, as well as I feel like all the little touches on my table kind of fit the rest of my space. I love the little greenery that I have sitting on the top, as well as this candle holder that I ended up buying at a thrift store one year that, I mean, I've had for a while now, but I feel like fits my space so perfectly. But yeah, I just wanted to show it to you guys so that way you guys could see it, because it is such an important space within my book space. And that's it, guys. I honestly had such a good time getting to talk with you guys, giving you this tour, and just really spending the afternoon with you guys, because honestly, we spent a good amount of time going through this book space. And if you did enjoy it, I would love it if you hit the like button down below. It really does help my channel. But I would really love to hear your comments about what you thought of my space. Was there anything in particular that stuck out to you? Or is there anything that I have that is in your own collection? Please let me know. I would love to hear about it. And also, do not forget that before leaving here, guys, subscribe so that way you guys don't miss any of my bookish content here in the near future. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one.